Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hello, I am DJ Ross. I am in Mountain View, California.
On every episode of Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, we're talking about Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Keeping you up at night?
Yeah, yes.
Dungeons and Degenerate Gamblers, and DJ's back on his whole Infinity Nikki thing.
Back into it.
Oh, you never stopped.
I never left.
Oh, okay. You went silent. You were all about it for a little while. It's all you talked about. It's all you posted about. Your social media was full of like screenshots and things. Yeah, we'd like finally DJ cool it enough. That's enough. We get it. And I assumed you just stopped playing after that intervention, but you clearly have kept going.
Yes. Well, now I have a restraining order or what? How does that work? No, I don't know. I've been playing it. It's certainly not as much as when it first came out, but yeah, I've been checking in with it. I never really talked about it on here, so now is the time. Now we're gonna get
we did
into
the streaming thing. I suppose that's true.
Yeah, we streamed it, and then it was December, and then we had to do all this other stuff, but now it's back. Now it's Nikki's moment.
Well, excellent. I'm glad I'm here for it.
Yes, I've been waiting. I was telling people last week on the stream, I was like, oh, next week's going to be great for a good week for Randy. We're going to do Infinity Nikki. We're going to do some Hello Kitty. It's going to be the best.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I had proposed talking about mouthwashing on this week's episode, which is like
just as something counter programming.
The darkest games I've played in a very, very long time. I figured with Hello Kitty, Infinity Nikki, and super creepy spaceship game. We'll come back to mouthwashing next week. DJ's asked for a little time so he can play it himself, and we'll talk about it in a future episode.
That's been on my list.
Yeah.
It's one of those games where I'm like, I don't know if I want to play this, but it's supposed to be very good.
Yeah. I will say nothing. It is for your sake, DJ, and for our listeners, it's a game that the less you know about, the better.
Yeah, that's another thing I've heard.
Yeah. So don't read a lot of reviews, don't watch videos or anything like that. Just it's $10. It's absolutely worth $10. Give it a shot.
Yeah. So next week we'll talk about that and I'll rewatch Requiem for a Dream or something, and then we can just be miserable.
Yourself. Yeah. The Substance.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, you said next week, but it'll actually be 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks.
Week,
yeah. That's how that works.
That's how we do this. But next week you're going to stream something fun and new.
Yes, I will be playing Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii on Monday, February the 24th at 10 o'clock Eastern at Twitch TV/VGHangover. Should be, well, man, it's a Yakuza game. You know what to expect at this point.
Expect the unexpected.
I mean, I've played my share of Yakuza games. I finally watched one of the trailers for this one, which is like a spin-off starring Majima from the previous Yakuza games, and it looks silly even for a Yakuza game. Like the series is much sillier in general than it was when it first started, but this one is just like even more over the top. So yeah, it should be an experience.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't think I've certainly not played all of the Yakuza games. I think I came into the series at 7. So my experience is limited to 7 and 8, but I guess it really sort of never occurred to me that there was sort of an arc to the silliness of this series.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first one is like a fairly serious sort of like crime story. And there are definitely silly elements in it, but not to the extent, I don't know when it really started happening. Like it probably, I mean, it started happening in Yakuza 1 for sure. There was some silly stuff, but like Yakuza 0 really amped it up with that weird chicken you can recruit. Everybody knows about the chicken. And then Yakuza 7 with Ichiban is, really, just a quantum leap beyond Yakuza 0 even. But then there was like, there were like 5 or 6 Yakuza games before 0, and they hadn't been all as deadly serious as that first one, for sure. So it's definitely been, moving away from that the very gritty like crime story in the very first one.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be interested in going back and replaying that first one just for comparison. I'm just like, how straight was this game? Like, what was their plan at the beginning? Did they have any idea that it was going to turn into just this weird slapstick game like 20 years later?
Was it all of the mini games and stuff back in the originals, or did that evolve over time as well?
Not as many mini games. I think there's maybe the karaoke bar with like 1 or 2 songs in it, but man, it was like a PS2 game, so I don't think I think they're fairly limited as to which like classic Sega arcade games they could shove in there and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I think Yakuza 3, I remember seeing previews for that, and that was the first time I remember thinking like, wow, you're doing all this other stuff like that. Like he's going golfing, he's like fishing or whatever. Like I didn't realize that there was all this going on in these games. So maybe that was when it really took off.
The technology caught up to their aspirations.
Yeah, that was one of the first, I think, PS3 installments. So that was when they could finally realize, like, oh yeah, we want this guy to be doing all this other stuff instead of just like kicking people in the face.
Right. I mean, all of that stuff sort of became memeable too. So I think there's probably an evolution to just the visibility of the Yakuza games by way of its silliness and all of the mini games and stuff. Like, yeah.
I think seriously, that chicken maybe is probably single-handedly responsible for, the Yakuza series explosion in the West. Just the chicken memes. I feel like you could just trace it back to some I don't know, somebody in the marketing department at Sega was like, we got to put this chicken on Twitter and
give me more chicken.
Will love it. Yeah. Now everybody knows about Nugget, whatever his name was.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say, is it the same chicken that does the management game with you?
Oh, no, that's 7? A different chicken.
Okay. It's his cousin.
Oh, well, I had no idea. I don't even know if they're related.
We're going to need a whole spin-off that explains the origin of the chicken family.
I feel like at this point, that would not be out of the question.
Like a dragon, pirate chicken in Hawaii.
There's like almost guaranteed that there is a chicken character in Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, right?
Well, there better be.
There must be.
Contractually obligated to have a chicken.
Yeah. Find out next week when I stream this February 24th at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. There was a long way around, but DJ's going to play a Yakuza game live on stream, the brand new one.
Yeah.
Pirates, Yakuza, doing stuff.
Yeah.
Should be good.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. I'm a fan. What else is going on?
What was the last one we streamed? Last time you streamed Hello Kitty. So, what did you think of that? I've played quite a bit of that myself. How was your Hello Kitty experience?
It was adorable. It was very precious.
Yep.
And then it became very boring. Was that not your experience?
No, it's totally been my experience. Yeah, it's Hello Kitty Island Adventure. This is it started as a mobile game. It was an Apple game. And it still feels a bit like a mobile game.
I disagree. I feel like that was a lot of the criticism I heard about this. Getting into it is like, oh, it feels like a mobile game, and it's clearly a mobile game. But I think other than, you have this daily login thing, they give you prizes. And then some of the interface looks like it came from a mobile game, because it did, so that's fair.
Yeah.
It didn't feel especially mobile to me, right? I mean, it felt like somebody wanted to make an Animal Crossing game without really understanding what is special about Animal Crossing, which, to be fair, I think still results in a pretty decent game, like that people would enjoy.
Yeah.
I just think, like, comparing it to Animal Crossing, I don't know if there's ever been, like, a successful Animal Crossing game that really replicated the stuff that Animal Crossing does well, or, like, is unique about that game. In fact, I think that Hello Kitty Island Adventure is basically how I imagine anyone when they say, like, oh, we're making something like Animal Crossing. Like, this is exactly the game that I expect to result. Right?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Totally. And I've been suspicious. I've learned to be suspicious of that over time, where a thing gets sort of like either not maybe dismissed or just sort of summarized as, oh, it's like Animal Crossing. And inevitably I play it. I've done that less lately, and I'm like, no, this is nothing like Animal Crossing. You clearly have never played an Animal Crossing game.
You may have played it, but you never like really played it. If you know what I mean.
You have never spent 500 hours on my island.
Yeah. You haven't fully inhabited an Animal Crossing game.
Sure, you haven't truly lived a hell. Yeah. So yeah, when I say it sort of feels like a mobile game, I think it's the stuff that you mentioned, where sort of like the daily check-ins and that churn, where it sort of incentivizes like collecting and gifting over anything else. Like your pathway to leveling up your friendship with the other inhabitants of the Hello Kitty Island is you finding and crafting gifts on the island and giving them to them. And it's like, it's super transparent about it. It switches to a screen that shows you a chart and that manages your friendship
Yes.
through level 1 through 5. While all of that stuff was sort of like secret calculations behind the scenes in Animal Crossing, Hello Kitty is sort of like, nope, you're a level 2 friend right now. You can't do that until you're level 3. So yeah, all of that feels very mobile game to me. But
but here's the thing, though. I saw that and I was like, okay, well, it's very upfront about, you can only give a certain number of gifts to each person, or this is really like encouraging you to log in every single day so you can get extra rewards or whatever it is. But that's essentially what you do in Animal Crossing when you go to the store when it opens every morning. It's just much more explicit in Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Right. Yeah. It's super subtle in Animal Crossing, and you hope it is the thing that your villager loves and it enhances your friendship, but you don't really know until, you have more experience and more time with the game, because there's no like visual depiction of the level of your friendship in Animal Crossing in the way that there is in Hello Kitty. So yeah, you're doing the same thing, but there's something about it being so overt, in Hello Kitty, and more sort of subtle and experiential in Animal Crossing. I could imagine somebody would prefer to have it on a chart and be able to map it. I'm not that player, so I think I would rather the Animal Crossing route, where it feels a little more organic.
I think it's really interesting, like just having that contrast after playing this, because the very first time you play your first Animal Crossing game, like the first 100 hours, or I don't know how long it takes you to realize what's going on, everything feels so mysterious and like organic. But like after a certain point, you're just like, oh yeah, this is having this conversation with this villager. I need to get them this item. And you sort of just like understand all the systems and how they work at that point. But I wonder if that is just the Animal Crossing secret sauce right there, is like hiding all of the actual systems underneath something that feels more natural.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that to a certain degree, because even in the hundreds of hours I've spent playing Animal Crossing games over the year, different Animal Crossing games, there were still things that I would learn about years later, or from other players that like I never saw in my multiple hundreds of hours with the games. What was it in? Not City Life, the other one, New Leaf, right? There was a what was the game you had, the observatory?
That was in Wild World with the constellations.
Correct. Yeah, with constellations.
Yeah.
And at some point, 2:00 in the morning on the first Tuesday of the month, like your TV would glitch out in your house, and an alien spaceship would come down and take over the TV for it. I learned about this years after I played.
Oh wait,
that
no.
game.
That was a red herring. People thought that the UFO on the TV meant something.
No, it doesn't mean anything, but it's a piece of content that is part of the Animal Crossing experience that was kind of mysterious and weird, and so rare that after hundreds of hours with the game, I never encountered it. And I think that is part of.
I don't know. So you're like,
well, you had to be watching your TV at 2:30 in the morning on a Saturday or something.
Was it always the same? I thought it would just play. I mean, this is a whole. I remember being in this exact discussion where people were like, is it real? Like, does it have to be at this certain time? And there was this other side where I was like, I think it's just like in the loop somewhere. I think it just comes on. So now I don't remember which one of those things is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I get where you're going, where there are still all these sort of like unknown things that people were discovering.
Weird,
about the
special
game.
freak things that happen on the island where you're like, I've never seen that. And I've played a lot of Animal Crossing. Yeah. So I think in part, I feel like that is, to me anyways, sort of the secret sauce of Animal Crossing. The thing I also like about Animal Crossing is that there is like a tiny little nugget of cynicism to everything that happens in those games. Like the whole like indentured servitude to Tom Nook and the fact that there is an entire class of characters that are kind of cynical and a little nasty and a little catty. Mm-hmm. No pun intended, is super fun. And yeah, I just think there's personality in that little rough edge that I kind of like. And there's none of that in Hello Kitty. Like nobody here has a rough edge. Everything is saccharine and sunshiny. And that's the brand, right? That's what you get with Hello Kitty. Obviously,
that would not fly with in accordance with the Hello Kitty like brand book or whatever.
Oh, undoubtedly. Yeah.
I was expecting at least a few of the characters, like maybe Batsmaru and
right.
Who is the little scary, the scary version of My Melody?
It's Agritsuko.
No, that's the fox thing, the little
metalhead
thing.
Oh,
Kiyomi, I think.
Oh, okay.
I was like, this one is going to be kind of, going to have an edge, whatever that means in the context of Hello Kitty. But no, everybody's just so agreeable all the time.
Yeah. Well, that was the funny thing about that little limited cartoon series with the metalhead.
Oh, yeah.
From Sanrio, is that it was a little darker and edgier. I mean, it's still very on brand for Sanrio, but it was clearly showed a willingness to kind of do something a little experimental, a little outside of kind of the saccharine world of Hello Kitty.
Oh, yeah.
This game is not that. So it is, yeah. It's funny that the weather report is like perpetually like sunny and 80 degrees every day on the island. And I'm like, does it ever rain here? Does it ever snow? Do the seasons change? I've never encountered that in the game. And I'm not sure if it's just, if it's meant to be a sunny, beautiful paradise all the time. And that's just sort of on brand for Hello Kitty.
That's hilarious. I feel like I've probably played for like 4 or 5 or over 4 or 5 distinct days. Mm-hmm. So you're right. I've never seen the weather say anything other than like sunny. And it didn't even occur to me like, oh, it's just not the rainy season. But it would be kind of hilarious if it's like, oh no, why would it ever rain? Why wouldn't it be sunny all the time? Because you're on Hello Kitty Island. Yeah,
right. And you're on vacation and it never rains on vacation.
Yeah. In fact, it's very weird that the first area you go to beyond just like the like port where you arrive at is like a spooky swamp. I was like, really? This is the first new area? This is weird.
Yeah. It's adorable though.
Yes. Yeah. It's very cute.
Yeah. I do like kind of the scale of Island Adventure though. It feels grand. And I'm several days in and I'm still unlocking stuff and seeing places I've never been before. Mm-hmm. The first time the game gave me kind of a multi-step collect these 3 things hidden in different parts of the island. And like the 3 things that I needed required me to do a little dungeon puzzle, where you had to unlock a secret door and go in and pull a crank and climb a ladder. And I'm like, wow, this like, there's a video game inside this in the way that Animal Crossing has sort of resisted being video gamey over the years.
Mm-hmm. I just mean the little like, I don't want to call them crypts because that is not something that exists in Hello Kitty, but like kind of. Is that what you're talking about? The
like little puzzle dungeons, essentially. Yes, correct.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
The Hello Kitty crypt.
But it's Hello Crypty. But yeah, it feels like it has dungeons or like a mission quest in the way that Animal Crossing, that stuff is always sort of like organic and built into, like, it's kind of on you to decide what I'm going to do today in Animal Crossing, or at least for the first couple of days, Tom will tell you, maybe you should focus on this. But yeah, you build your agenda as you get more experience and time on the island. And it doesn't seem like Hello Kitty wants you to kind of play that way. It feels very like preordained. Today, you should make sure that you level up your friendship with, Batsmaru, because you need that to be able to progress to this next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I said at the start that it's fairly boring, I don't mean like it's just a dull game. It just feels very like rote, kind of, where it's like you just get tons of like video game quests thrown at you, where you go talk to somebody and then you get the item that they ask for, and that unlocks the next quest. So it's very much like, it feels so different than the Animal Crossing experience. Like there's basically a campaign in Hello Kitty,
right,
where you just like do all these quests to progress with the campaign, and that is so different than the Animal Crossing experience.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if like once you get beyond the campaign, it's just sort of day-night cycle and you have your house and you're living on the island and chatting with your friends. That would be cool. That'd be a fun objective, I think. And that's kind of almost what I would prefer this is, but it's not. It's just it's a mission-based video game.
Yeah. Hello Kitty needs to complete the mission.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's adorable. It's surprisingly expensive on the Switch. I don't know. I don't know what the magic number is for this, but I know it wasn't $40 on the Apple store. I don't know.
Yeah, I almost feel like the Apple Arcade experience might be the best way to play this or to experience it, maybe.
Yeah. It's charming. I'm having fun playing it, but I'm not like, a slave to it in the way that I was with Animal Crossing. I don't wake up in the morning wondering what's going on in Adventure Island.
I'm definitely not like, I'm not checking in every single day. I wasn't even like maxing out the number of gifts you can give people, because I think at some point you just stop. There stops being like a tangible benefit to giving them gifts. Which is, if I was really into it, I would just be like running all around like, oh, who haven't I given 3 gifts to today? I need to find them.
Right.
But it's been enjoyable. It's been very like light. It's actually, I've really enjoyed just getting to know, or like, I don't know how much I've really gotten to know anybody at this point, but just like getting to interact with all the different Sanrio characters, because I'm aware of most of them, but there are a few like My Melody and I forget whoever else, the weird like Pochaco dog, who I'm just like, okay, I don't really know what their whole deal is, so this is providing some insight into that. There's still a bunch more I need to not unlock, but like encounter still. So looking forward to that. But that alone is not like driving me back to this game every single day.
It's interesting how Hello Kitty is not the center of it.
Like you're not playing as Hello Kitty?
You're not playing as Hello Kitty, and she is not your primary interaction point with the game even. At least in the first handful of hours, you spend much more time banging around with some of the other characters than you do Hello Kitty. She's just opening her bakery. And you check in periodically. But I kind of expected something called Hello Kitty Island Adventure to be like very Hello Kitty.
Well, she's got the premium real estate right on the plaza.
That's
right
true.
Next
she's
to
right.
the other one.
That's true. I don't know. I suspect there is a faction of the video game world that doesn't have the patience for kind of the aimlessness, sort of the surface aimlessness of an Animal Crossing experience. And for that person, this probably would feel great because there's really anything aimless about Island Adventure. It really is a very focused kind of gaming experience in the way that Animal Crossing rarely is.
Yeah. I think, some people just want to do quests for NPCs, and, that's fine.
Tell
that
me
can
where to
be
go. Tell me who to talk to.
exactly. And I don't know how many other Hello Kitty games there have been at this point. There was like Hello Kitty Cruisers or whatever.
Yes, the little kart racer.
That's the first one that comes to mind, but certainly not like an Animal Crossing inspired game. And I can imagine, like, if somebody heard this existed, they're like, "Oh my god, finally, I can hang out on an island with all these Hello Kitty characters." That was probably like a dream to those people.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, the gameplay is like not bad or anything. It's just kind of like there. It's just very sort of basic, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this. I've had to sort of readjust my thinking on this. Is that I thought this was going to be like my new like daily check-in game, and maybe if I was playing it on my phone, it might be that. But I think it's just a game I play and beat to some level of satisfaction, complete to some level of satisfaction, and move on from.
Yeah. So that's something I was wondering about. Is good. Like you do end up collecting a lot of stuff in this, and there's obvious similarities to Animal Crossing. Like you collect bugs and other creatures to add to their it's not, they don't call it a museum. What is it called in this? Like the wildlife habitat or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you collect all these comics that have been scattered around the island, and I was just trying to figure out, like, do you do anything with the comics? Is there a point to collecting them, or are there just like 32 comic books?
One of the characters, I forget, Choco Cat. It might be Choco Cat. Is a big comic book fan, and if you give him the comic books, he will give you some other resource.
Oh, but that's just his preferred gift, right?
Yes.
But it tracks all of them in one of the there's like this horrifying menu of like 60 different collections of things that like boxes you can tick. And I was just like what does this do? Is this just, hidden packages in Hello Kitty Island Adventure? Is that all that's happening? Just collect all of them to complete this checklist? Or I wasn't sure what else is going on.
Or is there some greater objective for getting all of them?
Yeah, because I was like, okay, I found a comic. Can I read this comic? Is there any, like, is this providing some insight or something? Is there a funny note written about this specific comic? Like when you collect a fish or a bug in Animal Crossing, they will, and you take it to the museum, you'll at least learn a little bit about it. But I think so far it feels like it is just ticking the box. Like, oh, you've got 1 out of 40 comic books. Go collect the other 39.
Oh, see, I thought it was just a bargaining point, just like in the same way that you would collect sticks in the game and use the sticks for crafting. I thought the comic books were just another thing you traded to somebody else for something else you need, and I didn't realize it was like a collection.
Oh yeah, I don't know. They're all numbered, I think. Interesting.
Okay.
Anyway, so
maybe there are secret layers to Hello Kitty in a way that I don't appreciate.
Yeah, so I mean, there are still some questions that I have about how this game works, but currently my suspicion is that you are just like collecting stuff. It's a little Assassin's Creed, like just collect all the feathers. I would like it to be more than that, but at this point I can't tell, and it doesn't seem like that is what's going on. But but who knows? Maybe like 3 months later, we'll be like, oh my god, I was totally wrong on Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Have you played anything that was sort of like, it's like an Animal Crossing game that you felt got closer than this? What would be your, like, if you love Animal Crossing, you should really play?
I was wondering, I was thinking that to myself many times while playing this, because I think this may be the first thing that, or it may be like the first Animal Crossing like that I've actually attempted to play, because I would see other stuff that was purported to be like, here's something for Animal Crossing fans. And just by looking at it, I was like, I feel like you don't understand Animal Crossing, or like maybe this has some elements of it, but it's not what I enjoy about Animal Crossing.
Right.
So I don't think I actually have played anything similar to this. I think that, like, I was going to say something like Alba. That's not really like Animal Crossing at all. There were a few games like it was like My Time at Somewhere, I thought was fairly well regarded. There are several of those at this point. People, they also get compared to stuff like Harvest Moon and Rune Factory, and like even stuff like Stardew Valley. But that's not quite Animal Crossing to me either.
My time at Porsche, my time at Sandrock, my time at Evershine. There's quite a few of them, yeah.
Oh, another one.
Yeah, Harvest Moon was always the initial, like, oh, if you like Animal Crossing, you should try Harvest Moon. And I never could thread those two games together ever. I tried playing a couple of the the early Harvest Moon games, and I was like, this is nothing like Animal Crossing.
Yeah, it's really not.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing, it just continues to be its own thing, which I think is really interesting. Maybe some of those other ones, maybe the My Time at Porsche would be worth looking into, but yeah, I'm just skeptical.
I really liked Cozy Grove. That is on the Switch. I think there's a mobile version of it as well. I think that parallels nicely. It is still its own thing. It has that little kind of darkness that I kind of like about Animal Crossing. It has sort of a daily cycle where, like, essentially you will run out of things to do today. And it encourages you to put the phone down, put your device down, and come back tomorrow in a way that I kind of like about Animal Crossing too. Yeah, I feel like that has gotten the closest. And I think they did probably the best job of any of these other kind of Animal Crossing-like games of getting kind of the character component right, because there are so many kind of really interesting and kind of vivid characters and personality types in Cozy Grove. And that feels like the closest parallel to kind of that islander collecting aspect of Animal Crossing that I like, checking in with my neighbors every day. So yeah, would recommend if listeners, if you're looking for an Animal Crossing like Cozy Grove was one of my favorites during the pandemic. I remember playing that in parallel with Animal Crossing and feeling like it was a surprisingly kind of robust experience in itself.
That's the one where you're like a ghost or something? Was there a ghost?
You're a spirit scout and you're trying to help ghosts like make their peace.
Yeah.
So it's a little spirit farer. You're kind of stuck on an island and you're a little Girl Scout and you're you meet a ghost, and none of them are very scary. They're all quite cozy because it's Cozy Grove. And they'll have some unfinished business. And you run around the island and do things to kind of help them complete these tasks. And they build little houses and there's little things you can accomplish, little milestones you can hit every single day. You have your own corner of the island as well that you're decorating and building. So it pushes all of those buttons too, but also a little more mission-based than the standard Animal Crossing experience. But I think it gets kind of the daily churn and the sense of exploration and building and a collection of really interesting characters and things like that in the way that Animal Crossing has always done really kind of deftly, I think.
I think I played maybe a little bit of that during my sort of whirlwind tour through Apple Arcade a few years ago, but
that would make sense.
It didn't really stick. I'll take another look at it. I mean, I've always been like, I haven't had a deep urgency to play something else like Animal Crossing, if that makes sense. So even when there is something that looks potentially promising, I'm like, like I've already got Animal Crossing right here. Why would I? Yeah. Like it's like a commitment to get into a second one.
We have Animal Crossing at home.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what a lot of these things look like to me is the other thing. It was like, I could just go back to my island and do another 50 hours of terraforming.
Yeah. I've had this little like itch to like, maybe I just like start over. Maybe I just go back to day one on my, that feels terrifying. But
remember the first week of New Horizons where it was all weird and like you couldn't do anything and people were just like freaking out like what when does Animal Crossing happen? But that was like the most exciting part of the entire experience, and it was over in like 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah
But that's like I mean that was amazing because it felt like, you know, my first experience with Animal Crossing again, because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Right. Yeah, I mean that was cool. That game in particular was cool too because it was such a weird time with. I mean, at that point, kind of
and also that yes,
the world had shut down. Most people were furloughed or sheltered in place. And we all had this kind of like shared experience, like between playing Animal Crossing and then talking about it on the internet. It was, I don't know, it's one of my favorite things about a very bad time. Yeah, I don't know that I could replicate that again if I just started over today and didn't have the shared social experience of playing it with, all the people on our Discord and all of my friends on the internet who I was dying to see in person again. And
well, because now you just be like, okay, 3 more days I have to be doing this until the next thing happens.
Right. I would be playing it like a checklist.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I would not be, yes. It would not be a gaming experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be a very gaming experience.
Right. Yeah. Because I would be trying to like random number generator my way through everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I want. The next Animal Crossing is just complete, obliviousness to whatever is coming, or complete ignorance to what's coming next for 500 hours. Just never let me know. I never want to catch on to how the game actually works. That's all I want, Nintendo. That should be easy.
Yeah. I don't know why Hello Kitty couldn't pull that off.
Well, yeah.
It seems like a very reasonable expectation.
There was a little bit, I mean, like maybe the first hour and a half where you're just like, I don't know how this works. But then it very, very quickly crystallizes like, oh, I know exactly how this works.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of it was me just not knowing who many of the Sanrio characters are. It was like, go talk to My Melody. I'm like, I don't know who that is. You're going to have to give me a
I do want to meet the rest of the characters. I want to play it at least that much, but it's not like, oh, I have to play this today or else, I'm not going to max out my gifting or whatever. That sounds nightmarish.
We had a little kind of mini vacation last week. We went to Florida, and I don't recommend going to Florida ever, but while we were there, sorry, Florida. While we were there, we went to Epcot, and in Japan, the Japan Pavilion, they have a great big Japanese pop culture store, and it's so much Sanrio stuff. And I was walking around going, oh, that's that person, and that's that one, and that's that other one.
Nice, so, like, nice. You're adequately prepared.
It helped. And there's a lot of Kirby stuff, like a ton of Kirby stuff. Yeah. They had a little Animal Crossing. They had stuffies for Animal Crossing, which were fun. What else? Oh, they had a sake set that was, I don't think it was official Animal Crossing, but it was the Tanuki mask on little sake cups and a little sake bottle. I'll post a picture on the Discord. It was great. And I was like, this is Animal Crossing sake? But no. But it clearly meant to sort of evoke Tom Nook, I think.
It might be. I mean,
Also, the Tanuki thing is a big thing in Japanese culture. I know that too. So
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I was surprised. I was like, I feel like Disney would normally be like so resistant to having other like brand representation
properties. Yeah.
Yeah, but like even they can't resist the Nintendo dollars. There's Animal Crossing merch everywhere. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, and like, 6 miles down the road is Nintendo World. And,
did you go to Nintendo World?
No, I want to,
what?
But I got outvoted on this one. So
what?
We drank around the world at Epcot, and I've been promised our next trip will go to Nintendo World.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have the new, it was like the Donkey Kong section.
Yeah, the other half of it, right?
I don't know how you feel about Donkey Kong. I mean, I probably wouldn't go to the Donkey Kong one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go if I was at the park.
Yeah, I guess if I was there already.
Yeah. But yeah, it was cool. And they had a whole room that was all like a million kinds of ramen. And another room was like a billion weird energy drinks and snacks and things like that. So it just kept going and going. It was fun. That was probably one of my favorite stops. I was quite tipsy at that point as well. So that might be part of it.
I haven't been to Epcot in so long. I wonder what that's like.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go to Florida.
We did it probably 5 or 6 years ago. It was right before the world shut down, actually, in 2020. January of 2020 was the last time we were there. And you get to the World Pavilion, and it's all around a lake. And we went left. and it starts with Mexico, and what else is after that? Norway and Germany, and it's like hardcore drinking culture.
Yeah. Yes.
So it was like me drinking a giant margarita at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, "Let's go right this time, and we'll start with England." I think is the first one, or Canada. You start with Canada on the other side, and I'm like, "I'll have a nice lager at 9 a.m." So I think the smart way to do it was to start with the beer countries and end with the margarita countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So,
you got to go the other way, or else you're gonna have a bad hangover.
I don't know. I was okay. I was fine the next day, but yeah.
Okay.
We did need a moment or 20 in the car afterwards going,
In the car?
okay, I think I'm okay now. Yeah.
Oh my
like,
God.
walked back out to our car in the parking lot and sobered up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like you made it back, so that's good.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. We were going to wait in line for the Guardians of the Galaxy thing, but it was a 3-hour wait. I'm like, nah, I'm not. I don't care that much.
One of my least favorite countries.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. There's a lot of Star Wars stuff in Epcot now. A lot.
Well, I'll bet there is. That wasn't even like Star Wars land. It was just Star Wars has also infiltrated Epcot.
Yes. Yeah. It's just like a little sprinkling of Star Wars everywhere you go.
Well, doesn't that just sum up like the culture for the last 10 years?
More, even more than Marvel, because I sort of, I've sort of conditioned myself to like the, Marvel kind of spreading its tendrils throughout all of pop culture. But no, it was like very heavy Star Wars, all over Epcot. And I get like Epcot is kind of science fiction-y to a certain degree, like the whole gist of the thing. So it makes a little more sense to like jam things like Guardians of the Galaxy and Star Wars in there. But it was still like, whoa, this is everywhere.
It's inescapable.
Yeah. But we had a good time. It was fun. I in general wouldn't spend a day at like Disney World or anything like that. And I don't enjoy being around other people's kids that much. But it was fun. It was the International Arts Festival too, so they had little art installations everywhere and different food vendors, and it was good. It was worth the trip.
Nice.
But yeah, that store in Japan is awesome. There was a ton of cool stuff in there.
Did you get any weird Hello Kitty stuff, or just shopping?
No, I didn't shop. I probably would have bought that sake set, but I had a moment where I was like, how do I get this home?
Yeah, that could be difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. And at that point, it's $190 to just walk in the gate. So it's, yeah. And every drink was $15. And I'm like, this is a very expensive day.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Well, because you can't do that every month.
No, that's every 5 years.
Yeah.
What is going on in the world of Infinity Nikki?
Oh man, so Infinity Nikki, I really never talked about it on here. So this came out in December, very late last year, and it's like part of a long running series of these sort of like Nikki fashion games, which I have only very briefly dabbled in. I played a little bit of, I forget even which one it was. I think it was maybe the third one at this point. It was a mobile game that primarily involved you putting together different outfits for this character, Nikki, to fulfill basically different like challenges or like sort of prompts. You'd be like, okay, we need to see an outfit that matches this and this criteria or whatever, and you look at your like your wardrobe of options and try and figure out what fit the best. Or at least that was the impression I got. I didn't end up playing it for that long because there was so much going on. There was a surprising amount of complexity in this game, which I thought was just going to be about selecting, stuff out of your closet. But then, lo and behold, comes Infinity Nikki, which it's now fully 3D and open world, and it's still very fashion centric, but it kind of blew up in December. And we streamed it a little bit. Since then, I have been playing it fairly regularly. It is just a wholly unique experience. It feels, in a weird way, it feels the most similar to something like Breath of the Wild, in that you just have this massive open world, and having not really played a lot of these games previously, and also this just being the first open world incarnation of it, I spent a lot of my early hours in this game just trying to figure out what is going on. Like, what do you do in this game? What do you do in this world? The idea, I think they're all sort of loosely linked narratively. Like, you play as this girl, Nikki, who is transported to this alternate world called Miraland, where everything is it's very fashion centric for some reason. I was getting into lore of the Nikki games earlier this evening on the Nikki on the Nikki wiki, I guess.
The Nikki wiki?
Yeah. And I was just I don't have time for this. This is way more complicated than I expected. But basically, it's very non-violent. There's no, there's a little bit of combat, but it's all very like goofy little monsters that you shoot with energy balls or whatever. I don't know how they explain that. But everyone is so concerned with the latest fashions and everything. Nikki is one of these elite members of society called stylists, which you may as well, whenever she introduces herself, she's like, hi, my name's Nikki and I'm a stylist. She may as well just be saying hi, I am a Jedi Knight, because she has the power to create these outfits or whatever, and manipulate whim and people's wishes to create these these magical outfits, which all have their own special abilities. So that's very very whimsical, which is fun. And a lot of what you end up doing in the open world is there's a whole campaign and everything, and it's a surprisingly complicated story if you're really getting into it. But you go around the overworld and you just do activities that unlock new sketches, outfit sketches. And then once you have these sketches, you collect the materials you need to craft them, and then you craft them and turn them into a full outfit, which you then submit to these styling challenges against other characters. And that's sort of how you it's one of the ways you progress through the main storyline. And also just there are all these little side quests that also involve these challenges. And I think that is sort of that's the core of the game, is you're always building towards the next styling challenge. You're always collecting these different outfit pieces and materials around the overworld. So that took me several hours to sort of internalize. But it's been a very, very enjoyable experience. It's been super chill. In fact, I think the sort of key way they've been promoting it is they've been describing it as Infinity Nikki, the coziest open world game, which I think is it's so funny to see that right out on the box, metaphorically, because it's a fairly pretty high production sort of game. The open world is huge. It's gorgeous. It's one of the best looking games I've ever seen.
Yeah, the Breath of the Wild comparison is not unwarranted. I think it's surprisingly complex, detailed.
Yeah. You spend, a lot of the experience of exploring in this feels very much like Breath of the Wild, where you'll set off and just be what's through this forest or what's over this hill, and along the way you'll see something else and be oh, let me go check out this other thing. And then before you know it, you just got 100 little distractions that you've been
what was I doing? What was my mission?
Yeah, and then suddenly you're off in the completely opposite corner of the map than you were planning to go, but it's fine because there's all this other stuff there that you can try and figure out. I found out that one of the the key designers on this actually worked on the Breath of the Wild team, supposedly.
Oh.
So I feel like that probably contributed a lot to that same feeling of just like, oh, there's just going to be another interesting thing around the next corner. So I had to go check out what it is. And it's been a lot of fun. It's just been, despite having played so many open world games at this point, it just feels like a completely different experience beyond the Breath of the Wild comparison, because, you know, you're not really like just fighting all the time. You're just sort of like collecting stuff and doing these little activities, whether it's the like styling challenges or there will be like little jumping puzzles. Sometimes you'll encounter what I guess is most similar to like one of the Breath of the Wild shrines, where you'll go into this little dungeon essentially, and then there will be some kind of like physics puzzle or like block puzzle that you just solve, and that unlocks one of the big like a moon or a star essentially from the Mario games, where you're just like, okay, so I need to collect like 100 of these stars, because those end up being valuable currency. But yeah, it's just like a bunch of kind of like mini games essentially scattered around the overworld amongst all these other like crafting materials and NPCs you can interact with.
Cool. I desperately want a non-combat oriented, a non-violent open world game. I think I've said before, like, I would love a Tomb Raider or an Uncharted that it's just like running through the woods and climbing on things and solving puzzles and opening the treasure chest and getting whisked away to the next one, without having to like stop to murder a bunch of dudes.
Yes.
And combat is fun in those games, but at some point it's not what I'm there for, and it is just the thing preventing me from the next big puzzle, the next big reveal and exploration.
Yeah.
But I don't know if fashion is the thing to get me there. Is it more of that other stuff? Is it more of the video gamey things, or is it all about sort of like the fashion stylist competitions and things like that? Or
I think what it comes down to, and like what the end game, quote unquote end game currently is like more difficult fashion challenges, because the way they work, they will typically say like, okay, create an outfit that fits into one of these categories, and they're like all outfit pieces have one or two categories attached to them, whether it's like cool or like cute or fresh or whatever, and then there are all these different like secondary tags they can have. So you have to fulfill all these categories and then have the highest scoring outfit to complete the challenge.
And is that compelling?
Yes and no. So the thing is, I wish they were a little more... What am I trying to say? I wish there was a little more to them, because they're not really based on like aesthetics or anything. They're really tied directly to just whatever, like however the outfit is tagged. So basically what you can do is you just like hit a button and it pulls in all of your highest ranking pieces that fulfill the challenge category or challenge requirements. And a lot of the time that ends up in like this horrific looking outfit that if you saw somebody wearing, you'd just be like, oh my God, what is this? And generally, I mean, it's just straight up the most efficient way to tackle the challenges, because it just gives you the highest score possible based on what you've accumulated up to that point. Mm-hmm. And there's all this other stuff you can do. You can like level up each piece. You can have all these different accessories that also contribute in different ways, and that gets into a little bit of both like the exploration, where you need to track down specific pieces, or alternately you can like pull the gacha for rare pieces, which is a whole other thing. So I wish it was more about like putting together an outfit that like visually looks good, because that's sort of that's what I would prefer. It's like, sure, oh yeah, I put together this outfit, looks great. It vaguely satisfies these conditions, but that's just not how it works. I don't think that's ever how it's worked in these games. It's always just been about matching the outfits with the tags. So that's a little disappointing, but that's just one of the sort of end game components, though. And the other one is basically just being a virtual Instagram model. And this has gotten, I feel like much more traction in the online communities that have been following, because basically the entire open world, all the areas and all the towns and everything in there are designed to just present you with the most ideal sort of like backdrop to take photos of your character in, whether it's just like unbelievable looking landscapes. Like I said before, this game looks incredible. It looks like Breath of the Wild, like times 100. So sort of that like light fantasy aesthetic, but everything is like super polished, and there's like soft light everywhere. Like when you pull out your camera, you have all these filters to adjust like the camera settings, and then of course you can put a filter on top of that. And like the landscapes are very breathtaking. At one point, I wandered into a room that I think you had to like interact with a door. Like you had to open the door in this building. So I thought, oh, okay, this building has a door. There must be like a treasure chest or something unbelievable in there. And I went in, and it was just a room filled with like a bunch of like dangling twinkly lights hanging from the ceiling, and there was like a little like tea table on the side, and you could sit at the table and take a picture of yourself in this amazing room by the window. And I was like, oh, okay, so that was the treasure in this room. It's just this incredible spot to take this photo, which I can then share online in this outfit that I created.
So in the way that like every mall and theme park now has sort of like Instagram.
Yes, the Instagram wall.
Like,
so yeah, it's an entire world based on that philosophy. It's not quite as
treasure
tacky.
You can get is a nice place to take a picture of yourself.
Yeah. Which I've been having a surprisingly good time with, because the photo mode in this game is pretty good. Like again, it just looks incredible. I have fun putting together different outfits when they're not attached to the fashion challenges, because they're, I don't have to have everything as high scoring as possible. I can put together something that I think actually looks good, and then you can just go ahead and take pictures. And it's like, if you're into that, it's very satisfying. You can like share them online with other Nikki players. You can leave a little, like if you take a picture in a specific spot, you can leave a little like hourglass behind. So when somebody else reaches that spot, this is very Death Stranding. They can like bring up your hourglass and see the picture that you took, and they can like pose with you in that picture, which is kind of fun.
Oh wow, it's ghost mode.
Yes, ghost mode. So I feel like that's a little more sort of like organic and social than just the like purely like score-based fashion challenges. And I think that's where the longevity is for most of the people who I've seen playing this online, is that they just like going around and taking pictures with the latest outfits that they've put together, which is super cool. Like I assume that's what was happening in the previous Nikki games, but I never made it to that point where I had something where I was like, oh yeah, I want to actually show this off. I want people to see this.
Right. Cool. I like dress up in video games. I've always enjoyed games that have sort of robust outfit building.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the Dragon Quest IX
Sure.
had some of my favorite, and there are abilities tied to all the pieces, but there's always this pull between like, well, that hat looks really good with my outfit, but but it's not the highest level hat I can have, but the high level hat doesn't look good with the rest of my clothes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have to make that important decision. Do stats rule or does fashion rule in that situation? Yeah. And, Animal Crossing with all the clothes, and Saints Row with the character design system in that was insane. So just all that kind of stuff is super fun and compelling. But I don't think I've ever played a video game that's built entirely around that as your motivation.
Yeah. And I don't think I have either, which really like it kind of caught me by surprise, because I spent a lot of time like putting together outfits in Final Fantasy XIV, which is surprisingly popular thing for people to do in that game. But that game, like, you're just collecting stuff as like equipment, like sort of like in Dragon Quest, where it's like incidental how it looks, and you can like at some point they added the ability to make equipment look like different equipment, so you wouldn't have that horrible like tree stump hat or whatever. You could make it look like a real hat or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just sort of like an afterthought to how the equipment works in that game. It's such a different experience playing something like Infinity Nikki, where that's the entire point from the beginning, is to create like a robust way to create outfits and then like photograph them and wear them around the world. For instance, like in Final Fantasy, you have like 5 outfit slots, or 5 clothing slots essentially. And because you're so limited, it's like, oh, well, sometimes it's like the shoes you want to wear just have the socks like attached to them. You can't wear the socks separately with a different pair of shoes. But of course, in Nikki, it's all broken out. Like, oh, you've got like shirts and shorts and socks and shoes and hats and bracelets, and they're all these different categories. And I was just like, oh wow, like of course it works that way. That's so like, why wouldn't it work that way in a fashion game?
Right.
But it was kind of like revelatory, like, oh, it's really just like, that's why you're here. So of course it gives you as much freedom as possible.
I wonder if I would like this.
I would say give it a try. Like, even if you
it's
don't
free,
get
right?
super into the fashion stuff, like it's still pretty entertaining to just explore around and, encounter a shrine or solve some like a jumping puzzle or do a mini game or whatever. And I didn't even get into the whole gacha angle of things, which is, I have not really, I'm not wailing on this game or anything, but ultimately it is, they want you to like spend currency to pull new outfits on the gacha banners every week, which is kind of like, don't know how I feel about that. I don't love gacha in general. And it's not really required to progress in this, which is good. It's it's free. Like the game is free otherwise. So that's just how they subsidize it, I suppose.
It doesn't gate your progress by not participating in that.
Yeah, like eventually you may get to the point where your outfit doesn't score enough points, so you have to you can just go out and gather more resources from the world to help level it up, and the gacha is kind of like a shortcut.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and then like there's other systems that you would expect, like the daily replenishing energy, which you can spend on other resources to like level things up. But I don't know. It depends on what your relationship with gacha games is, as to whether like I feel like I should recommend people get into this, because in general, I sort of wish gacha wasn't a thing, because I feel like it just leads to people spending lots and lots of money on gambling, essentially.
Oh yeah.
But in this, it doesn't really gate you, which is like, okay, if there's going to be gacha, then I'm glad it's not really like oppressive, and it doesn't prevent you from enjoying the other stuff that there is in this game.
Have you spent any? You can tell me you don't want to answer if you don't want to, but have you spent any real money on anything in the game?
Oh, I did, yeah. I got one of the, I guess it's like, because the Battle Pass equivalent got it. Yeah, just every great thing from, modern gaming is in here. But there's like, you earn experience as you play through. And if I start playing a new game that has something like this and I'm enjoying it, I'll be like, sure, I'll buy like the first Battle Pass, whatever. And in this case, I think it just gives you more resources and a few special outfits for the weird, like, giant cat character that follows you around. Oh, I forgot to talk about him. But yeah, I haven't spent a whole lot. For the most part, like, I don't really mind. Like, I'll usually buy the starter pack equivalent if I'm enjoying the game. Yeah. I don't mind throwing them a few dollars here and there if I'm still playing it. But like with a lot of gacha games, and this is something that confuses me about gacha in general, is I'm always sort of looking for the way to like, how do I actually spend money on the gacha to like get good results out of it without spending like $100? Because it seems like, in order to brute force the the items, whatever you want out of the gotcha slot machine, you have to spend so much money. I'm like, how do I spend like $10 or $20 to get this thing? And it seems like the only answer is, oh, you don't. You have to spend an absurd amount of money in order to just like get the sheer number of crystals or like gotcha resources that you need. So so as a result, I just never end up spending massive amounts of money on any of these gotcha things, which is probably good.
Right. Yeah, totally. That's fine.
But it still makes me uneasy about, there are certainly other people out there who are doing that. And
yeah,
if that's within their means, then good for them. But I also worry a little bit how it's, it feels very predatory.
Oh, totally. I'm sure. Yeah.
And that's not even getting into like all the daily login stuff too. Like, there was this post, because the PSN was down a couple weeks ago. The PlayStation Network, I don't know how long it was offline. It was like 24 hours? Was it like more than 24 hours maybe?
It was a couple days. I think it was 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. And to me, that's like, oh, whatever. But I saw all these posts about people saying like, oh my God, I can't log into my like gotcha games on the PlayStation Network, so I'm missing, the daily prizes that they hand out every day, and this is equivalent to like $10 or $15 across all the gotcha games I'm playing. And it's like that is a whole, like, if you're in that situation, you need to stop playing video games and like unironically like maybe get help, because that sounds unhealthy. But yeah, I don't know what my point is. I feel like all that sort of stuff, whether it's the gotcha and the sort of like FOMO, please log in every day incentives, are not like required to enjoy the rest of like everything else that's going on in Infinity, Nikki.
Well, good. I mean, obviously, there's clearly a class of folks who are there for that, but yeah, if you choose not to get embroiled in that kind of a relationship with a game, then it still sounds like there's something fun here to play around with.
Yeah. I think like what is there is very wholesome, because it's you just like hanging out. Like they said, it's the coziest open world. And it's like not super competitive. It's not like especially difficult. It's just like everything feels like they're just trying to enable you to, have a nice wardrobe full of outfit pieces that you can play around with.
Yeah. Live your most fashionable life.
Yeah, exactly. And like I was saying, I've never really played a game that was that similar to this in this way. Like I really wanted to get into, what was it? Style Savvy, and then Fashion Dreamer, which I was just about to in December, and then this came out, and I thought, well, let's see what this Nikki series is all about.
Yeah. And what's interesting, and those games in particular, like, I think are super easy to condescend to, or like I would see them, 3DS cartridges at a Target or something like that, and I'm like, oh, look, a little style game for the girls.
Yeah.
But you get online and you start poking around in Reddit or whatever, and you're like, no, it's actually a really good game. And sure, it's maybe, was designed to get more girls to play video games. But there's also like a good game here, and here's why. And I'm like, oh, well, interesting. And just, it always reminds me to sort of like have an open mind about these things, and you never know, what is hidden behind the marketing on the plastic wrap of a video game.
Yeah. No, I still really want to play Fashion Dreamer. I think it's the latest one by that studio.
Yeah.
Although it's going to be tough after Infinity Nikki, because I look at it and I'm just like, oh, I wish it was like open world and all this other stuff. But, they can't all be Infinity Nikki. I'll still take a look at that at some point.
Not everything can be Infinity.
It's true, yeah. Anyway, so they keep on, it's your typical live service roadmap. They keep on rolling out new events and new banners full of outfits to pull on. So I imagine I'll keep playing this off and on, at least for a little while. Cool. But it was a big surprise at the end of last year. I was not expecting to have spent this much time with it at this point.
Is this on Switch? I don't think it is, right?
It's not on Switch, but that's another thing that is cool about this is it's on pretty much anything else. I don't know if it's on Xbox, but like within a week of downloading it on Steam, I was like, okay, I got it on the PS5, I got it on my phone, I got it on my tablet because it's like Fortnite. You can just log into it from anywhere.
Sure. Right.
And I find like I still play it on Steam the most, or not on it's coming to Steam, but they have their own launcher on PC at this point. So that's why I play it the most. But like if I just need to log in to do something, or if I don't know what I'm doing, where I only need to be playing Infinity Nikki for like 3 minutes at a time. But it's on my phone if I feel like it. I can just, like, if I'm at the doctor's office or something, and I'll just be like, let's see how Nikki's doing. Nice.
And you and your doctor can compare outfits.
Yes, yeah. Let me put together my Dr. Nikki outfit. That would be good. I'm so excited. Okay, I need to cut this off because we're going long. But I'm just like, imagine this game. It's been out for like a month or two at this point. Just imagine what it's going to look like a year from now when we have a year full of new outfits added to the game. It's going to be crazy. Right. So it's going to be a whole different experience than the early months of Infinity Nikki.
We'll tune in for the video game hangover review in progress of Infinity Nikki.
Yes, the first expansion.
Yeah. DJ will set his alarm for the updates and read all the patch notes live on the air.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Oh, weird. I don't know what's going to happen.
I did not have the best time watching you stream this. And I think I can be a bit of a sarcastic curmudgeon sometimes and just sort of like dismiss things. I'm like, no, that's stupid. That's dumb. That's not my thing. But it's always exciting when your friend finds a thing that they're super into, and it sounds like you're super into this. And that's it makes me sort of rethink my position and maybe again remind myself I should have an open mind about such things.
I think you should try it out. I think the first couple hours are a little dense with because you just arrive in this weird world where there are like all these things you have to know, and they're explaining how like fashion works in this world, which is like can be a lot to take in.
Oh, I know how fashion works.
Oh yeah, you think you know how fashion works. Let me explain this to you.
My pajama pants and hoodie did not tip you off.
Oh man, it's not going to score high in the Mirror Crown challenge. But yeah, so if you can sort of like tolerate the amount of lore they throw at you at the start of this game, there's a lot more to latch onto later on.
Nice.
That's how I stuck with Death Stranding. I'm just going to ignore all these people talking to me. I'm just going to go out and deliver packages.
Yeah. Well, there you go. See, that's again, I want like cozy exploration. It doesn't even have to be cozy. There's nothing cozy about Death Stranding, but
no, it was very cold and like wet.
Yeah,
it's the opposite.
But there's weird little kind of nuggets of compelling things that are not the main path in some of these games that I wish developers would explore more.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's like the web fishing thing. It was like I don't necessarily want to play a fishing mini game, but if the entire game was like somebody setting out to make a cool fishing mini game, then maybe I'll take a look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the rise of the hangout game, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Man, we talked a lot about Hello Kitty on this show.
Well, yeah, what else is new?
I'm gonna bump a game again. I didn't get to talk about Dungeons and Degenerate Gamblers. It's Balatro, but it's just blackjack.
I feel like every week now it's Balatro, but it's doing your laundry or something.
Yeah, there's another one that I just downloaded on my Steam Deck that is blackjack, is Balatro, but it's mahjong.
Oh, you know how to play mahjong?
Like that could be super fun. There's a demo for it. It's called Aotenjo, Aotenjo. if that sounds interesting to you, check it out. But yeah, Dungeons and Dragons, nope, Dungeons and Degenerate Gamblers. You're not building poker hands, you're building 21. You're playing blackjack essentially. But it's a lot of the same conceit where you have kind of your base deck of cards, and you add funky cards like tarot cards and birthday cards and your blood donor card and things like that to the deck, and they all have different kind of
it's just
effects.
Like other stuff in your wallet.
Other things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally.
Interesting.
You can get a loyalty card, which is super fun. And it has little punches. And every time you like play the card, it punches the card. So by the 10th time you play it, you would get a free sub, but you actually get a perfect 21 every time you play it. So it's clever. It clearly sort of overlaps with Balatro in some elegant ways. One of the cards in it is Jimbo, the Joker, the sort of iconic Joker from Balatro. So there's a bit of a crossover there. Local Funk, the developer of Balatro, has recommended people check out Dungeons and Degenerate Gamblers. It has a little bit more of a story mode in the way that Balatro is really just you playing hands of poker over and over and over, lather, rinse, repeat. There is a bit of a narrative to Dungeons and DDG. I'm going to call it that from now on. So if you want a little more story in your roguelike deck builder, this is a good game for that. But yeah, it pushes a lot of the same buttons as Balatro. It feels a little less flexible. I feel like there's enough weird kind of overlaps in abilities, and there's so many different poker hands you can choose from that every game of Balatro is like this choose your own adventure of like, where will this game take me? And DGG does not ever feel like that. You're really only playing like 3 or 4 card hands to get to 21, and then it's over.
Well, that's what I thought when you first mentioned this. It was like, okay, well, like the biggest blackjack hand has maybe 5 cards in it.
Right.
So I was like, how, like I don't know, maybe you only play this game for an hour and you've done everything. But I can't wait for the one that's like, it's Balatro, but it's like, I don't know, hopscotch or something.
Tic-tac-toe, yeah.
Yeah, oh god, maybe somebody can make a good tic-tac-toe game. Maybe that's the one case where...
Tic-tac-toe roguelike.
Yeah. Maybe it would just be awful. So, just like, tic-tac-toe is always the worst.
Oh, we've gone too far. Turn back. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Well, the thing that is interesting, well, there's a lot of things that are interesting about this, but you're playing against other characters in this, because in Balatro you're just building poker hands alone, kind of against the house. But in Dungeons and Degenerate Gamblers, there are other players that you're encountering, and
like
they're
other
playing
than the dealer.
Yes, yeah, it's other people. Like the whole narrative is you exploring the many floors of a bar and lounge. And so like the doorman will challenge you to 21, and then the bartender will challenge you. And if you take a detour and you go down into a basement, there's a talking rat that wants to play blackjack against you. And they all have their own custom decks and all of their own modifiers and things like that. So you are building your deck to try to get yourself to 21, but to try to stop them from getting to 21. So there's a little bit more of a push-pull, give and take
interesting
to it that you ever get into in Balatro. So it's easy to sort of dismiss it as just Balatro but blackjack, but it's doing other stuff with a very similar kind of interface. So I dig it. I've had a good time with it. Yeah, I've played quite a bit of it actually in the last week or so. I had it going on the Steam Deck, both back and forth from my flights to Florida in the past week, and played quite a few hours of it. So if it was just Balatro, I would just play Balatro. So it's cool. It's cool that this exists in a parallel universe with that other game, and they both get to do their own kind of unique take on deck builder roguelike.
I was gonna say, it seems like there's so many people trying to jump on the Balatro bandwagon. Some of them quite directly, it seems like. So I'm glad to hear that people are at least trying to put their own spin on it. They're just like, oh, okay, so it's, roguelike parlor game, essentially.
Yes.
But then this has all the different characters you meet. I don't know whatever's up with the Mahjong game, but maybe that will have something else going on.
Yeah. I don't quite know the hook of the Mahjong one. I've not tried that out yet, but that just came out. It was in kind of early access, and it just went 1.0. in the last week or two. So I will check that out and report back on a future episode. But I like Mahjong. I enjoy a good Mahjong video game.
Dude, do you know how to play Mahjong?
Kind of. I mean, you're just matching tiles, and you're getting all of the, like, there's the collections of tiles where it's all of the different phases of the moon and thing like that, and you have to get all 4 of them. But typically, you're just going for direct matches.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's always sort of been on my list. Like, I want to learn how to play, but I feel like maybe the Balatro version is not the best way to. Maybe I'll just learn the wrong way to play it.
Yeah. Balatro has broken me on poker, I think. I don't know that I could go to a casino, and I was never this person anyways.
I don't. It's a 5 of a kind. Wait, you haven't seen this before?
This is real boring. Yeah. What do you mean I don't have? Yeah. So I'm curious about Aotenjo and how that sort of gets the roguelike thing in there. So we'll check it out. Report back.
One of these days, I'm going to start playing the Mahjong gotcha game, which is a real thing. I was told is one of the best ways to actually learn how to play. But
oh, really?
There's
got to be a tutorial game out there somewhere on Windows. Yeah. My mom, when I was a kid, my mom was in like a friend circle, and they would get together once a week, and play Mahjong with actual tiles on a table.
Oh, really?
I never played with them, but like I had enough of a passing understanding of what they were doing that as I encountered Mahjong video games later in life, I sort of got it. Yeah. Curious to check out this new version of it that has a roguelike element, but. In the meantime, this game is called, the game I was most talking about was Dungeons and Degenerate Gamblers. I'm playing it on my Steam Deck. It runs great. It's on Steam, obviously. I don't think it's on any other devices just yet, though.
Maybe if it explodes, it'll be on everything.
Yeah. And I think everybody's probably still just playing a lot of Balatro.
Yeah. That's the case with most of my friends, I think.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Blue Sky. We are at Blue Sky. Follow us on Blue Sky. Sorry, we updated the outline and I'm just seeing it for the first time. Follow us on Blue Sky as VGHangover.com. Hey, that's super easy.
Yeah, I don't know how to type it in. I don't know. There's not like, it used to be just Twitter / whatever, but you can figure it out. You're intelligent.
And you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to join us on Discord. You can hang out with us and chat about games and other fun things. You can get a link to that at VGHangover.com. And we would encourage you, as always, to subscribe, rate, and review us on your podcasting app of choice, be it Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, any of those things. We are there. Maybe hook us up with a friend recommendation as well. I mean, you could recommend people who should be our friends, but we would like you to recommend the podcast to your friends.
Who should I be friends with?
I don't know. Maybe people have recommendations.
Oh, well, send them in. And at the same time, while you're doing that, tell your friends about the VG Hangover show. It really helps us grow the listeners. We appreciate it quite a bit.
Some listener in like Boise, Idaho is like, TJ would really like my friend Steve. They should hang out.
Oh, well, yeah, we should. I've never been to Idaho, so be right there. Speaking of Idaho, I want to give thanks again to RJ Lake for our intro and outro music this week. If you'd like to hear more of his work, you can go to spellmynamewithabang.bandcamp.com and get his entire discography.
Yeah.
Now available in Idaho for the first time.
For the first time. They just got music in Idaho this week.
I don't know what their problem was. But
I'm not sure if that's true either. Yeah.
I'm assured it works there now.
We'll be back. Well, when will we be back? We'll be back next Monday, the 24th, to play Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. At 10 p.m. Eastern Time, go to twitch.tv/VGHangover or any of the aforementioned links for more details on that. And then back in your ears in 2 weeks with a whole new episode right here in your podcast feed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks so much for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.